Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. After months of negotiations, a bipartisan group of senators introduces an immigration reform bill. We'll have a roundtable discussion of the details of the legislation. And the Phoenix Suns have unveiled their Spanish language website for the team's Hispanic fan base. That's all ahead on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thank you for joining us. A bipartisan group of senators introduced a bill to overhaul immigration laws. The legislation is designed to put an estimated 11 million people on a path to U.S. citizenship and to invest billions of dollars in strengthening border security. It also includes a new farm worker program and visas for high-tech workers. Joining me tonight to talk about this immigration reform bill are Lisa Urias, co-chair for the Real Arizona Coalition, James Garcia, a communications and media consultant who has written often on themes of immigration, also a member of the Real Arizona Coalition, and Todd Langfried, member of the Real Arizona Coalition Leadership Council. He is also the executive director of Arizona Employers for Immigration Reform. Thank you all for joining us on Horizonte.
Thank you.
The topic could hardly be more timely. A lot of things going on immigration this week. We've got the unveiling of the legislation from the Gang of 8 on Tuesday and a bunch of other activities. Before we get into all of that, though, the Real Arizona Coalition, just a year or so ago, people thought you guys were crazy for thinking that there could be any kind of civil discussion of immigration. What happened, Lisa?
That's absolutely true, and it was 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, really, that we found ourselves in the middle of a firestorm. We had 1070 signed. We had more than 6 million media hits internationally, mostly negative. We lost hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts from convention and tourism business, and we knew we had to find a way to respond, to reposition this issue. And we pulled together a group of now 50 member organizations and hundreds of individuals representing thousands of individuals across the state who have come together and have had numerous discussions over the course of the last few years, and in particular over the last 6 months with the O'Connor House and Justice O'Connor, and found a way to come together on this issue, found a platform. But yes, we didn't feel like we could talk about the issue of citizenship for a long time. We didn't feel like we could use the word comprehensive. And over the last 6 months or so, in particular after the last election, here we are with our Arizona senators leading the way on immigration reform.
Todd, there had to have been moments over the last couple of years when you're thinking, what am I doing? There's no realistic hope for this to change. I know that a lot of people attribute the election results to what we're seeing today, and certainly that's a big part of it. But there does seem to be a mood in Arizona that's much different than it was a couple of years ago. People are kind of tired of all the fighting and are looking for a positive solution.
Well, I don't think it's so much that we had some, we were concerned that people weren't really willing to talk about this. I think our beginning premise was that people wanted to, but they needed a venue, they needed a place where they could have these types of discussions. And so the conferences that we did throughout 2011, I think, helped kickstart those types of discussions to the point.
And a pretty diverse group of people involved in these.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We had faith leaders, we had business leaders, we had community leaders, we had legislators involved, and from all corners of the state. And I think,
and for all, many of the spectrums on the political spectrum were represented.
And they came willingly. It wasn't that we had to necessarily, collar some, some conservatives and have them come and talk about it. There was a thirst, I think, in Arizona for a sensible, rational, civil discussion of this issue. And I think through a lot of people's leadership and a lot of people's help, we were able to get those folks together. And I think the work of that the Real Arizona Coalition has led over the last year, a little over a year now, to develop a reasonable platform for immigration reform is really remarkable. And to see hints of that work in the Senate bill, I think is very heartening, and just shows that if Arizonans sit down and talk about doing the right thing, we can, and we can see very positive results out of it.
And James, speaking of civil discussion, civil discourse has been an important element of the O'Connor House here in Arizona, and Justice O'Connor herself. And as I understand it, she kicked off one of this week's panel's discussions that took place on Tuesday. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's on some level a bit of a coincidence with regards to the passage of the Senate bill this week, but we had planned for a while a series of conversations. I'm sorry,
You're getting ahead of yourself.
The proposal of the Senate bill this week. We happen to have scheduled several events, which started actually today, which was a discussion about the benefits of citizenship to our economy versus letting people stay undocumented or simply giving them legalization. And without going into detail, essentially that panel talked about real tangible benefits that would come to our economy if we make these people citizens. Right. Beyond that, we also have, of course, an
Let's
event.
talk a little bit more about that panel.
Sure.
Who did you have on it, and what were the salient points?
Well, we had Joe Garcia from the Morrison Institute. They were really the people that put the report together. They were a partner in this, but it was essentially their baby, if you will. We had Alan, and I'm sorry, Alan's...
Alex Narastic.
Alex Narastic from the Cato Institute, who is an expert on all of these issues.
From Washington, D.C.
Mac Magruder, who's a business person, and Maria Castro, who works with the Arizona Dream Act Coalition, who was bringing sort of the dreamer perspective on this.
And Bram Resnick, by the way, was the moderator of the panel, and Bram is a new citizen. And
right, just 9 months ago he became a citizen.
9 months ago, so he was engaged in moderating the panel. It was very good.
And you had a pretty good reaction from the audience?
Well, amazingly, the audience was right there with us because I think what Alex was doing, what the whole panel was doing, is what the Real Arizona Coalition has been doing, trying to approach the issue from a fact-based argument, not from an emotional argument. And by doing that, it's hard to argue with real facts. And essentially that's what the panel was talking about, and so the audience generally was right there with us.
So tell us about the other things that are coming up. Some of them are sponsored by the Real Arizona Coalition.
Yeah, some of them are, and some of them are just partnership activities, but one of them is tomorrow evening, the Consul General of Mexico and the Real Arizona Coalition are putting on more of an arts and culture event, although there will be a panel discussion at the end talking about leadership and civil discourse and how that's helped to bring us to where we are. On Friday, KAET and ASU are hosting a panel that's going to be led by former Senator John Kyle. Panelists will include Daniel Ortega, civil rights leader, an attorney, Bill Montgomery, county attorney, and others. And then coming up, the Greater Phoenix Economic Council has an event in Washington talking about Arizona's perspective on immigration. And then beyond that, Valley Leadership also has a panel that's going to be talking about immigration and civil discourse.
So Todd, one of the things that everybody's talking about, of course, is the proposal from the Gang of Eight. Your reactions?
I think it's a good start. I think it's clear. You can see the imprints of the various organizations that have been involved in, whether they were in the room type of discussions or the things we hear about in the news, for example, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the labor unions, coming up with a plan for the worker visas and that sort of thing. It's really not a bad plan. There's, as they've said in the news, there's a lot of stuff for a lot of people to hate. But I think what's important, though, Jose, is that people look at it from where the agreement is and start there and focus on what are the things that actually help solve the problem. What are the things that, what are the factors in it that help secure the border? What are the things that can be done on the labor side that then can contribute to a more secure border? Again, if we get people out of the desert and they're coming through normal ports of entry, that should make the border more secure. But there are concerns that the visa quotas that have been announced so far are too low.
And those would be of particular concern to the members of your organization, right? To
exactly
employers.
Right. Yeah, we a lot of our members are in the construction industry. A lot of them are in agriculture. So the 15,000 construction worker limit is just incredibly too low. The W visas that starts at 20,000 and goes up to 75,000 after 4 years, and then can cap at 200,000. That's just too low too. I'll use Yuma as an example. They need 30,000 workers to bring in a winter vegetable crop. Do the math. 30,000, a little bit more than 20. And that doesn't even count the limits that are going to be with the...
So do you expect some changes to be made that will deal with some of those issues that your organization has?
Boy, I hope so. I hope so.
I think it's
If
fair to
that
say.
doesn't happen, are there things in this bill, that being one example, that will doom it and we won't see immigration reform?
Well, yeah, there's probably several things. I think there are going to be people in the House, and I'm sure there's going to be some people in the Senate who don't like the whole citizenship issue at all. I think you're going to hear people trying to drag out the whole amnesty thing, but there's really nothing close to amnesty in these bills.
Well, we had an opportunity, Jose, to meet with Senator Schumer and Senator McCain about this bill, and what we all recognize is that not everyone is going to be happy, that compromise is part of this bill. And so I think it's really important for all of us to recognize this, that we are not going to make everyone happy, but this is an important bill. It's important legislation for us to get through. We're hopeful that it will get through the Senate, and they were very hopeful that it would get through the Senate. Then, of course, it has to go to the House, and they have to have a lot of dialogue and debate there. But if we don't take this opportunity now and we let it slip through our collective fingers, I think that's a real tragedy.
So you could live with this bill as it currently is
I
drafted?
think that's one of the things we need to recognize is that legislation can always be changed. And so you can pass this bill, you can get this work started. It's a comprehensive bill. It addresses a lot of the key issues. And then moving forward in a couple of years, if we need to address the visa issue, if we need to up the numbers, do it then. But we don't have to stop the bill because we don't have every single point right now.
I think my sense of it is that we know that we have an 800 and something page document. We haven't seen
844 to be
844 page document. We haven't seen what the House of Representatives has. We're not exactly quite sure how much the Obama administration is willing to give and take. And then, of course, there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of immigrants around the country who are activists, who are working on these issues. And so there are a lot of forces that are going to be at play.
The administration, the reports are that it's kind of given its blessing to this.
That the administration has.
Yeah.
Yeah, they more or less have. And frankly, politically, they're very closely aligned with immigrants' rights organizations, and there's a lot of conversations that happen between them on a regular basis. So that speaks to where the immigrants' rights groups are, and they're generally positive about what's happening right now. But I think the momentum is just so tremendous on this bill right now that it would be almost impossible to really stop it in its tracks.
Well, there was a lot
it's going to be modified, but it won't be killed.
And some have expressed by the administration that the border security provisions were going to be so stringent that it would kill it.
Yeah, and it's a valid concern from the standpoint of the kinds of triggers, so-called triggers that they've set up, essentially saying the border needs to be this secure within this period of time, otherwise people can't move from permanent legal status or temporary status to some sort of more permanent kind of place in terms of a visa. And the question right now on the table is, how realistic are those standards? How do we know when the border is really secure, and so on and so forth? I think, though, there's a lot of wiggle room because we're talking about years out before those measures really start to get sort of locked down. It's not as if next week or 6 months from now somebody has to say, oh, the border is 90% secure. I mean, we're talking years out in the process. And as Lisa points out, there's room for modifying down the road. If it doesn't seem realistic,
absolutely.
It can be modified.
And Senator Schumer made it very clear that they would give people that legal status. They would be able to live here, to work here, to travel back home and come back to the United States freely while they were going through this process. So some of those trigger points would happen, but in the meantime, folks would be given that that legal status that they need right now.
One thing with the border security argument is that it buys into a meme that's been used for years, which is that you have to seal the border first before you can address any of the other concerns. That's really problematic if you're trying to set up high barriers. 90% control over the border is pretty aggressive. And I haven't had a chance to talk to many people about that who actually have to do that. But from the discussions I've had with them before, I think they would say that that's going to be very difficult. So why are we waiting to deal with the labor issues? Why are we waiting to deal with any of the other reforms that are necessary to really solve a lot of these immigration problems if we're setting a barrier that's so high that it's It could be 5 years. It could be 10 years.
So, though, hasn't some of the criticism that's come from the right been that the barrier is too low, that it's too easy to satisfy the standards for securing the border that are set forth in the proposed legislation?
Yeah, there have been some elements of that, but I think overall, probably most on the right are somewhere in the ballpark in terms of spending $5 or $7 billion and setting up these kind of standards. I think though that again, if you take sort of the realistic view and the long view on this, I think what's probably going to happen is that they're going to start to say we're going to spend X billions of dollars and that's our goal and we're going to try to achieve this line. And in the meantime, there's going to be a lot more of a legal process for people to come into the country. More workers will be able to move back and forth more freely, and it'll negate on some level the need for that level of security. I mean, we have 21,000 Border Patrol agents now. We probably don't need that, but we have them because we have a system in which there are millions of people who have no other way but to get back across the border without documentation.
Lisa, one issue of particular concern is the status of the Dreamers. What do you see to like in this bill?
I think it's very close to what the DREAM Act was originally intended to have. So there are a lot of things that the Dreamers can participate in right off the bat. Their citizenship will be streamlined. Their opportunity for citizenship will be streamlined. They'll have permanent legal residence right away. They'll become citizens faster, and they'll be able to become fully engaged in the American dream. I mean, they've been here since they were little, and this is what they need to be doing.
And on that note, we're going to end our discussion for now. I'm sure you all feel vindicated that you're not just crazy people preaching in the desert, and we'll see what happens. And probably have you all back to discuss it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
Jose.
To find out more information about what's on Horizonte, go to azpbs.org and click on the Horizonte tab at the top of the screen. There you can access many features to become a more informed Horizonte viewer. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button or by scrolling down to the bottom of the page for the most recent segments. Learn about more specific topics like arts and culture and immigration. You can also find out what's on Horizonte for the upcoming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or you want to buy a video, that's all on our website too. Other features include our collection of website links and a special page for educators. While you're there, show your support for Horizonte with just one click. Discover all that's on Horizonte. Visit azpbs.org, Horizonte today. Here at Horizonte, we want to hear from you. If you have comments, story ideas, or questions, email us at horizonte@asu.edu.
The Phoenix Suns basketball team unveiled their Spanish-language website aimed at increasing their Hispanic fan base. Joining me to talk about the site and more is Phoenix Suns president, Jason Rowley. Jason, welcome to Horizonte.
Thanks so much, Jose.
We just finished a lengthy discussion of immigration reform, what it means to the country and to Arizona. I want to talk about what the Suns are doing with their Hispanic fan base, but you were also part of a delegation that went to Mexico City recently and have a sense for how we're viewed in Mexico City in the context of immigration. Tell us about that.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for having me on. So went down to Mexico City with a trade delegation that included Mayor Greg Stanton, David Cavazos, the city manager, several others, a few representatives from the Diamondbacks and some other business interests. And really, it was eye-opening for me, being a longtime resident of Arizona and dealing with different business interests down there.
And somebody who grew up near the border.
That's right, about 10 miles from the border. It was very surprising to me, although maybe it shouldn't have been, but it was surprising that in each discussion we had with, for example, their tourism groups and with some of the state senators or the senators down there we met with, that the discussion of how Arizona is perceived was forefront on their minds. It was an interesting thing at the hotel we were staying at.
And I take it the perceptions are negative.
They're negative, and that when we're competing for tourism dollars, as an example, against states like California, Texas, Colorado, and some other ones where individuals with money in Mexico to spend in terms of tourism, they're using that against us from an economic standpoint to basically say, hey, come to our states rather than go to Arizona. And it really is a negative perception. That was the big point of the delegation, was to go there and say, look, we want to develop face-to-face relationships. We want to have a situation where you can come up to Arizona, feel comfortable, and there are people here who are welcoming of you and want to make sure that you understand you can come to this place, feel safe, have a good time, enjoy the things that this state has to offer. But it was really eye-opening.
Now, the Suns basically made a political statement at the time SB 1070 was passed. They expressed their opposition to it.
Right.
Got a lot of coverage for that. Did you get any credit, so to speak, in Mexico City for the positions?
We
that the
did.
Suns have taken?
There was definitely a feeling that when we went down there that they knew that we were allies, and that's a really good thing, because look, let's be realistic here. Mexico is a $6 billion export partner for Arizona. I think the numbers are about $13 billion total is what the trade partnership is really worth in terms of value. $6 billion of that is exports from Arizona to Mexico. In the tourism world, tourists coming from Mexico up to Arizona relate directly to about 23,000 jobs in Arizona. So there is an enormous economic impact there. And from our perspective as a sports team, we want to have as wide of a fan base as possible. And so when you look at the demographics of Arizona, the Phoenix metro area, and it's a 40% Hispanic fan base or population base. Well, our fan base needs to match up with that, and our sponsors expect that they can reach that fan base and that market segment through partnering with us. So it's extremely important that we develop those relationships as well.
And I want to talk about what you're doing with respect to the fan base here in Arizona. But before we leave Mexico, the Diamondbacks, for example, have spent a lot of time cultivating a fan base in the state of Sonora, in Mexico. Are the Suns planning on doing something comparable in Mexico?
That's what we would like to do. And to their credit, they have a box office actually in Hermosillo. So they've been very active trying to go out and do that. And there were Diamondbacks representatives on that trade delegation. Luis Gonzalez was down there with us as well. And it was really great to be able to sit there. We did one media session where it felt really good to have two of the major sports teams from this market down in Mexico kind of preaching that statement that we want to make sure people understand this is a place where they can go.
So let's talk about the efforts that you're leading right now. A number of things. One is Fiesta Night.
Right.
And we've got a video that we're going to run as you and I are talking. But also the website. And this is the video we're talking about. We've got Nicole Jimenez singing the national anthem.
Right.
Tell us about these Fiesta Night events.
Sure. So the NBA itself has done a Fiesta Night for about 7 years, and we have certainly been involved in that with our Low Suns jerseys. Our Fiesta Night this year was March 9th. And
here we've got some folkloric dancers.
Right. And really what we try and do is we want to make sure that, that we're reflecting the culture. We want to make sure we're reflecting and really emphasizing a particular heritage. And we do it also for others. We have a Polish night. We have some other nights as well that we've done. But for us, this has been one we've been doing for quite some time. And the Low Suns jerseys are extremely popular. We pretty much sell out of them every time we have them in the team shop there. And it really is a fun night for us to have. We have Mexican flavored food in our concession stands down in our courtside club, so we really try and kind of do it up for that night. It's really a lot of fun.
Let's talk about the website. It's in Spanish?
Correct.
What else is going on there?
So basically, when we launched it just about 3 weeks ago, what our website does is it essentially mirrors our English website. So if you go to the website and you click on all the different headlines and bylines, the articles have been translated to Spanish. And really, again, that's just an effort to try and get out and really connect as best we can and connect for our sponsors with the Spanish-speaking community here in the market.
Now, I understand you've got some other things coming up that are part of your efforts to attract the Hispanic fan base. One of them involving the Mexican Olympic team? That's
correct. So one of the things I was very specific in terms of making that trip down to Mexico City is that I wanted to meet with the Mexican Basketball Federation, which essentially is what manages the Olympic team for Mexico and their national amateur team. So what I would really like to do, and I know Robert Sarver wants us to try and chase down and really get done, is possibly this season, but hopefully the season following, if we can't get it done this season, is to bring the Mexican national team up here for a preseason scrimmage or exhibition game, just with the idea that it again shows that that we are trying to build those cross-border relationships and really provide a product that people can want to come out and really support. So we're looking forward to doing that as well.
Well, you've got some Spanish speakers on the team, and you had Leandro Barbosa from Brazil last year.
Luis Scola from Argentina.
Yeah. So any prospects to seeing a player in the NBA from Mexico playing for the Suns?
I would tell you, I would love to see that, because really, the NBA itself is such an international product in and of itself, and we really position the NBA as a global brand, not just here in the United States. And so, if you look at it, our team, for example, we have numerous players from different countries.
So maybe one day we'll have somebody from Mexico.
I would love to see. That.
On that hope, we're going to have to end the interview. We're out of time, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Horizonte. That is our show for tonight. From all of us here at Horizonte, I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good night.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.